Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Gurus, where every Friday we explore stories of international business and speak with industry leaders operating around the world. I am your host, Philip Auerbach of Auerbach International. Thank you for joining us. If you're tuning in for the first time, we start each podcast with a running segment called Faux Pas Fridays, where we explore a funny blooper or mistranslation that does not quite convey the professional image that your organization wants to project. So, for example, a sign in English in a Norwegian cocktail lounge said, "Ladies are requested not to have children in the bar." So, today's guest is Ms. Sol Alsina. The most important thing you should know about Sol is that she is an extremely good person. People say that she is the creative and generous one, a 360-degree sensitive human being. Regarding the professional field, she studied international relations, coaching, and design. She is the co-founder of a female design agency called Mundoh Digital in Argentina and has created a digital platform to measure employee emotions and company culture in real time. But Mundoh Digital is more than just a branding, web design, and UX, UI agency, user experience, user interface agency. There are women in tech driving change with purpose and impact. Choosing Mundoh means people are reducing the gender gap in technology, and Mundoh actively trains and hires single mothers, refugee women, and young girls. Welcome, Sol. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Well, thank you very much, Philip. I'm actually very excited to be here and talk to you, and of course, to have people listen to these stories and cultural differences. That I'm sure it's going to be fun.
That sounds wonderful. Great. So before we dive in, could you perhaps tell us a bit more about your background and how you grew up and how you gained your global experience or your global outlook?
Of course, Philip, I will do that. And I really would like this to be fun, and to people to smile through this story. Let's see what happens after I share a little bit about my background and how I become, with this global mindset that I said,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a little town, okay, close to Buenos Aires, which is the capital or the tango town of Argentina, okay. It was very Italian because my mother is from Italy. My family is Italian, and they came after, the war to Argentina. And therefore, I grew up there. It was very intense, as Italians are. And I really all the time wanted to be kind of like global, From the minute I knew that my mother was not from Argentina, I really wanted to understand what actually was Italy, where was that?
Mm-hmm.
Who were my family from? And I wanted to kind of like understand the map, right? And that's why I kind of like, when I was 18, I decided that from my little town, instead of coming to Buenos Aires, it was quite an experience because I went as a Rotary exchange student, okay, on a cultural exchange program to Greeley, Colorado. It was from United States, right, close to Denver, and I did my high school there, my senior year as a wildcat in the United States, So yes, actually very close to Denver, really Colorado, close to Boulder, actually. So, right there when I was 18 years old, from a little town in Argentina to another town in the United States, that was quite of a difference in terms of cultural, understanding and point of view.
And did you speak English at that time? Did you speak much English?
I did speak English, but of course I was not fluent because my mother, she really cared about education, and I really admire and am thankful for that. She sent me and my twin brother to private lessons, right? But it was not the same, okay? Like my accent, it was really thick, and it was very like a lot of theory. So
Yes.
the English and the conversations were not the same as in Argentina studying in a class, right?
Of course.
So it was fun. It was fun, and I do have a story
Yes.
about that and the accent.
So please share the story. Share the story now.
Well, when I went to this school in Greeley, they also, I had to choose between Spanish and German classes as well, right?
Huh?
And I chose, of course, German. Okay. And I was in a German class, and of course, it was in English as well. And there is a word that I still cannot pronounce in English. I can't. It's impossible. I don't know why, but it's very hard for Argentinians to pronounce that word. And I'm not sure if I could share that to you. But
Okay.
the entire class was laughing very, very hard. And so was the teacher. And I got an A plus, okay, in that class, I have to tell you, because it was a huge effort. But I say to the teacher, the people were talking, right? The kids around me. And I really wanted to concentrate on the class. So I said something, guys, would you please, in front of everybody, should I say this, Philip?
Well, I don't know what you want to say. Do you want to write it?
Okay, yes, please. Would you please, and Philip, you are going to please.
I will say it for you.
Please, would you please? Go ahead.
Oh, that, focus.
Yes, but I said the different way. You can imagine what I said, right? It was, no, I cannot say it, Philip.
Okay.
Say it again, please. Teach me how to say that.
Focus.
Okay, could you please focus? Okay, and it was, of course, not good at all, because I said it very bad. And everybody thought that I was, telling them to go away someplace else. And that was not the intention of it. And I still cannot say that. And that's why every time I have a client in front of me, I say, I would like to concentrate on, instead of saying that word that I can't,
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Or you could also say to pay attention to, or concentrate on it. Yes.
Exactly, pay attention to. But anyway, that's what I said,
right.
on my first year, and everybody kind of like knew me because of that.
No, that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. Well, my graduate school roommate spoke fluent Spanish. His wife was Honduran, and he spent a lot of time in Spain and other parts of Latin America. And then he learned French, and I thought it was some of the funniest things I've ever heard, was speaking French with a Spanish accent, being an American. So anyway, we all have issues learning languages like that.
Exactly, and with the accent, right? But it was friendly, though. I mean, they really understood what I meant, and it was quite fun.
So tell me a bit about your company, Mundoh Digital, and perhaps some of the most successful projects you've ever done.
Okay, let me start by saying that, first of all, like global guru, right? And all this global mindset, mundo in Spanish, the translation, it means world.
Worldly, world.
It means world. And at the end,
mundo. Yes,
mundo, it means world in Spanish, the exact translation. But at the same time, we combined an H at the end, mundo with an H, because it's a human world in a digital world, right? So we really like to speak human in digital world. That's why we added the H at the end of our brand, like concept. We really believe that all this technological, disruption, let's say, it's really about anthropology, right? It's really about how humans behave in front of technology. And we really want to be more human than ever. That's why we want to be human in this world. And that's why the name. But it's digital because we actually design websites and landing pages and digital products. And we believe that we design actually these 24/7 silent ambassadors of brands that really speaks human when somebody see a brand or, search a brand through the net, through the internet. So that's pretty much our company. It's a female branding agency. We are all women because that's our business model.
Right.
And we mainly design website and branding concepts, right? And we do believe that that's our main, actually, I would say, passion and success. When really the people, they really say, wow, that wow effect, this is very human. I should see that the designs just pop out, through the computer. So
that sounds
and it's a language, the design and creativity, it's only one language. You don't need to speak English.
Well, is it one language? Because what resonates in one culture doesn't resonate in another. So when you design for Germany, for example, do you design any differently than when you design for a company in South America, for Chile, for example?
I think it's different everywhere. I think every brand is unique, and so it's each culture. But there is one thing that is equal to everybody, and it's that every brand really likes to transmit, right? And to really get and engage. That's something that is similar to every brand. And if you ask me, I would say that it depends on the client's response to the radial question that we sent to them, to really find out what they really want to transmit. We have a pre-branding design questionnaire that we sent in order to make sure that we don't read the brand as our main culture. It's not our extension. We need to make sure that we understand what their culture is really about. And each brand it's a culture, too.
Yes, very much. But certainly when you deal with issues such as colors and images and patterns and so forth, these do differ by country. The Chinese prefer red, for example, and yellow is the imperial color. And other cultures don't use red very often. It can mean prostitution or something like that. So, in the United States, sometimes red can mean stop, which is, obviously not what you want to convey. So, when you do these designs, I assume do you consider just the company, or do you study the national culture as well, or do you study the companies or the client's market? Is it international? Is it European? Is it local? Whatever.
Yeah, I will say that we study pretty much the brand market and what they want to offer, because, for instance, pretty much sometimes the brands are more multicultural, kind of like maybe the owner or the founder is from China, but probably they are right now trying to hit a different kind of market that is not only China. So it's global. But yes, we do kind of like ask what color, right, in terms of psychology, they are looking for. What is the color that it's linked to their brand, what they want to transmit psychologically speaking. But yes, I mean, the answer is, Philippe, we do bear in mind pretty much the brand color, not the country color. Yeah.
Very fascinating. And can you give some examples of some wonderful successes that you've had? Some brands that have really taken off?
Yes. We have done the internal communication of Lenovo, okay, here in Argentina. Lenovo, the brand of computer. Yeah, the
Chinese computer company.
Yeah, we have, kind of like participated in an employee engagement storytelling campaign, and we designed all the internal communication to engage them and create well-being through storytelling. And it was a very unique combination of biomimicry. Okay, it was based on nature, the nature, and what nature teach us as leaders, right? So it was a very interesting campaign that teaches leaders how to become better leaders by observing biomimicry, by observing the giraffe, for example, and how to lead like a giraffe. And it was very, very fun because the imagery that we chose, it was very compelling and interesting. And that's in my humble opinion, right? It was fun. And that was quite a surprise for people because they were not expecting to be learning kind of like, you know, a couple of advices how to be better leaders by observing the nature and this disruptive imagery that we choose in the internal storytelling. And then websites, we were so happy by, you know, kind of like understanding the concept in education, in the schools. We designed for educative platform that we really like from the United States, My Virtual Classroom. They are, you know, becoming very, very big. They are actually from the Alliance and Paradigm Learning System as well. And their concept was also very disruptive, very global, because actually the logo is already kind of like a light bulb, right? But become a world with a lantern. And it was very fun to design that for them in the educational field.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, really.
And is that My Connected? But the company you're talking about, is it My Connected? Or my virtual classroom?
Yeah, my virtual classroom. It's one of them. The other one is Paradigm Learning Systems. And really, I mean, they are so much fun and interesting, and technology, and everything. It's in one place for the educational field and for schools. So
I think My Virtual Classroom is the product, and My Connected is the company.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. It's wonderful. What about some projects that perhaps did not go so well, either yours or others that you might have heard about? In what way did they not do well, and what can one learn from that?
Well, we have another business unit in Mundoh, and we actually design, you know, the platform that measure company culture in real time. And to be honest with you, that was quite, and it is already a challenge, because we spent almost 2 years, I may say, during the pandemic, having virtual coffee with many other, you know, leaders from many different companies, Lenovo, Coca-Cola, you know, small, medium-sized companies, it doesn't matter. We had more than, I would say, I don't know, 60 calls for 2 years to co-create this platform, right? And by the time the pandemic was over, right? And it's time for companies to use this platform, right? The adoption was very hard, Philippe. Companies were not and are not ready to use this platform that measures and expose the leader, to be honest with you. Leaders, they don't want to be exposed. We found out that when they receive the heat map of emotions of their teams and the company culture, they don't want to be exposed. That's what we found out. So it has been very hard to get the platform out there, to be honest with you, even with companies that are, you know, kind of like in a ranking of, you know, the best place to work, right? Where you're supposed to expose and be honest about everything you do, and you care about employee well-being. And we found out that, you know, people is still afraid of telling their leaders how they feel, because they are afraid of the leader reaction, right?
The retribution.
And it's funny because we co-created this with the leaders. more than 60 liters. So I'm like, why don't you want to use it right now? So I will say that I don't want to say that it's a failure, because it's not. We learn a lot from it, but I say that
just hasn't succeeded as you had wished, as you had expected.
exactly. And cultural differences too, right? I mean, I think in the States and in people still, they don't want to say how they feel.
Oh.
They and like everybody likes anonymity, the security, the security of their data.
So are you saying when people don't like to express how they feel, do you mean employees talking about their bosses or the bosses talking about themselves?
I will say, no, employees talking about their bosses and about their company culture.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what the platform does. The platform asks people how they feel about the company culture and the key drivers, right?
It's fascinating.
Yes, it is, but so far it's a little bit hard, the adoption.
Well, perhaps it will work better in another country. I don't know, where people are not as afraid, perhaps, of talking about.
It's not actually in the States. In Argentina, in Italy, in Spain. It doesn't matter. I think the world is not ready to really see the data in real time about feelings, right? It's kind of like soft skills from the leadership. That's not ready to see, right? We want to see numbers, but we're not quite ready to see the emotional heat map of the team.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I know that Mundoh does business in other parts of the world, in addition to Argentina and the US. You said in Germany, in Italy, in Spain, and so forth. What kind of cultural differences do you encounter when you deal with executives in other countries?
Mm-hmm. Well, for instance, let me say that I'm amazed and very shocked about the way we learn so much by doing businesses with the States, with United States executives. Mm-hmm. Actually, they were the ones telling us to please raise the prices, right? Oh. And they were really concerned about us not, knowing how to deal with business in terms of prices. They really think that our work is really good in terms of quality, in terms of design and website, but I'm so thankful for that, because they are teaching me results and how to become a businesswoman that really can impact, in terms of the income. Right. And that was one of cultural difference, Philip. I'm not very used, and we are not very used to think in numbers. Huh. We don't base that. We were shocked. We were like, are you really serious about this? I mean, about this number, about this, that's too much, but that has to have, I'm sorry about my accent, but it's actually linked to my culture. We are not taught to value our business because we are always afraid that people's going to say no because it's too expensive because of inflation, right? Oh, right. So when you go to the world, you become afraid of telling people how much it is, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it's pretty much, I don't know, 50% less than in your own country, right? And the quality, it could be very good, extremely good. Of course. That was one of the things that I was very amazed about the cultural difference. We are not used to numbers, large numbers. We are afraid. Right. We don't value ourselves that much.
So pricing by value, pricing a product by value. It's fascinating.
Yes.
And
yes.
What about in Europe? Did you?
Well, in Europe, actually, they're more like us, even if of course the euro and the peso, which is our coin, it's extremely, it's a difference. We were kind of like conquered by Europeans, right? We have 80% of European background, Italian and Spanish. So pretty much the culture, it's a little bit similar, but they are more precise. Argentinians, they talk a lot. We are very intense. We really ask personal questions. And let me tell you that Germans and Netherlands, they are a little bit more precise. Just tell me what you're going to do for me. Do not ask me how I'm doing. And, these personal deep questions that this is not the way we do businesses, right? And for us, it's all about connection, connecting emotionally, being hyper about it, excited. And they are like, can you go to the point, please? Can you just tell me what you're going to do and keep the other part? Thank you. It's okay, but it's a little bit awkward because that's not the way we operate, we really want to know more about them.
That's very interesting because the United States is called an impersonal business culture. We can pick up the phone and talk to someone across the country, and our country is very vast,
Yes.
and just ask about the product and order it, whatever. And I don't need to know the person doesn't need to know me, nothing. But it's much more common outside the US, in Latin America especially, and in Europe, where you have to build up trust first. You have to get to know the people and feel trust and comfort with the partners, the people that you're dealing with, and then you can do business. So when you're saying that the Europeans are not interested as much in the emotions, they just want let's get down to business, that sounds much more American.
Well, probably because actually the ones that were hiring us or choosing us, they were people from United States living in Netherlands, right? Or living in Germany.
Living in
correct, but they actually were originally from the States.
Okay, so that will help explain it.
That explains it. And then of course, I mean, that's just one of the stories or two of the stories that we got. But then if you ask me about, I don't know, Germany, for example, it really depends. We got, the name was Purinacity, and he was very actually from Germany, but he was really Italian too. Like he loved Italy, he loved like this global mindset. So I cannot tell you exactly the cultural difference because he was really alike us.
Right.
So, and the same thing to, with Portugal. They were kind of like, I don't know, probably because of our experience of dealing with multicultural teams, right? People from Greece in one team, from Italy. So it was so multicultural that, of course, it was very diverse, very inclusive, the way we did businesses. And we really felt one in a line this time. I don't know if it was because of the pandemic that everybody was doing business remote, because I'm talking about pretty much our experience in these past 3 years being remote.
Yes.
That was when we actually grow faster in terms of businesses. So I'm talking about this experience right now.
Right. That's fascinating. Before we close, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I would like to say that the world is actually becoming more global. And the cultural differences right now, I really find that they are becoming kind of like less, right? And I think all this remote obligation that we had because of the pandemic made us understand the other one culture and kind of like, hey, where is Argentina located, right? I'm talking to Sol,
Right.
and they are kind of like right now searching for more information. That didn't happen before because the possibilities were a little bit more local, right?
Yes.
So that's what I would like to share. I think the world is becoming a little bit more one, you know, in terms of culturally speaking, the remote mode, and more human.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just before we close, what do you do outside of business? What do you do for fun? I assume you tango because you're in the city of tango. But what do you do for fun outside of business?
I continue being global, Philippe. I study international relations. I love to meet people around the world. And again, I'm so thankful to be nurturing, I don't know how to say that, or actually international friendship, right? With people around the world that teaches me different cultures and different philosophies. And I study emotions. That's what I do too. I like to study emotions. I go out with friends. I drink wine because I like wine. I cook and I have fun. That's what I do. That's what I do. I have fun.
That sounds wonderful. It's a great pleasure. Well, thank you so much, Sol. It's been a superb pleasure to meet you and to get your insights and learn about your company and your approach to international business. It's just very refreshing and very enlightening. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you for having me here and representing my team too. You know, it's not only me. You have 7 women, only in one, but I'm the voice of them. So thank you for inviting me here. It's interesting.
Well, I'd love to come to Argentina and meet all of you one day. That would be great.
Okay, well, we expect you here.
So thank you. This has been Philip Auerbach. Please join us again next week for another edition of Global Gurus and their stories of international business.